Stream, everyone. If you're new to my channel, my name is Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. All right. So Donald Trump is making perfect picks for his cabinet and his team. And I want to talk about Pete Hegseth. The left are having meltdowns over Pete Hegseth. They're having more meltdowns over Matt Gaetz because they're afraid Matt Gaetz is going to put these lawfare criminals in prison, which he very well may do. But Pete Hegseth is everything that the left hate. They call what Pete Hegseth is toxic masculinity, right? And Pete Hegseth, as Secretary of Defense, he is the perfect person for this job for a whole bunch of reasons. And, you know, he's what you would call, like Trump, Pete Hegseth is a man's man. He is as close to John Wayne in modern society that we have. And he's a lot of things. He's a war hero, but he's also a very religious Christian. And they hate that. I mean, everything about Pete Hegseth, they hate. He's white, he's a man, he is a man's man, and he is a Christian. So the left are just having complete meltdowns over all of this. And in particular, they're freaking out over this cross, which is the Jerusalem cross. I know this isn't the most common cross you may see in America, but this cross, the Jerusalem cross, is very common, much more than you realize among Christians. And also, there's a long history with this cross, which I'm going to go through some of the background on this Christian cross, the Jerusalem cross, that Pete Hegseth has tattooed to his body. And, you know, they're having complete meltdowns. This is, just as an example, this is MSNBC. Now, this woman talking, she is an ex-NAACP and ACLU lawyer, all right? And here she is talking about Pete Hegseth.
Donald Trump is actually saying that a power explicitly given the U.S. Senate to confirm or refuse.
Hold on, guys. I had forgotten to get some. I'm going to get my headphones so I can get the sound a little bit better for you. Give me a second. Don't go anywhere. I knew I forgot something. Hold on, guys. Okay, this will work a little bit better. Okay, so let me go back. So this is this ex-NAACP ACLU lawyer talking about Pete Hegseth.
Donald Trump is actually saying that a power explicitly given the U.S. Senate to confirm or refuse to confirm these nominees, he wants to bypass. That's an explicit power the Constitution reserves to the Senate.
Okay, now, this is what I love about these 1619 project types like this lunatic, okay? All of a sudden, the left have all this respect for the Constitution, right? You know, they were talking about if Kamala Harris won, just kind of wiping out the First Amendment and arresting Elon Musk because free speech reigns on X, among many other things. And the 1619 project types, like this lady, they've been telling us that the Constitution is out of date, that it is an old document. It doesn't apply anymore. It was written a long time ago. But now, all of a sudden, these leftists have all this respect for the Constitution of the United States. What a joke.
Donald Trump is actually saying that a power explicitly given the U.S. Senate to confirm or refuse to confirm these nominees, he wants to bypass. That's an explicit power the Constitution reserves to the Senate. So to Bill's point, this is the first test of whether this of how the Senate, including Senate Republicans, decide what side they're on, whether they're on the side of the Constitution of the people or whether they're on Donald Trump's personal side.
Okay, now beware of any Democrat who all of a sudden are they going to stand up for the Constitution? Anytime you hear a Democrat, anytime you hear a liberal talk about upholding the Constitution, they're tearing it up. Now, so far as the loyalty, the job of the Senate is to advise and consent. Advise and consent. So they have hearings. They get the little press moment where they get to bark at whoever's being questioned, and then they vote to approve them, to confirm them. They consent. They advise. Either they like this nominee or they don't like this nominee, and then they consent because the presidents have a right to have in their cabinet who they want to have in their cabinet.
And, we should also say one of the things that's so important in this function, in this role, is the people of this country should have some understanding of who's going to be making decisions about their daily lives. Because let's remember, like when we're talking about the secretary here and Hegseth and his white supremacist and extremist tattoos on his body.
Okay, now here they go. Now she's talking about the Jerusalem cross, all right? The Jerusalem cross. She's all of a sudden decided that is some symbol of white supremacy.
And Hegseth and his white supremacist and extremist tattoos on his body. He is also a person, if he is in this job, who will be having the discussion with Donald Trump about sending the military into communities to police U.S. citizens.
Okay, now this is another fantasy that the left have just made up, that Donald Trump is going to use the military and deploy them to U.S. cities to become policemen against people who disagree with Trump. Nothing like that's ever been proposed by Trump, anyone MAGA. This is just an MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, Joy Reid, The View, Trump derangement syndrome suffering fantasy.
This is something that Donald Trump has said explicitly.
Oh, really? When did Donald Trump say that? That he was going to send the army to go into American cities and round up people that disagree with him? I miss that, and I think I've seen almost every single Trump speech, interview, and rally.
A power he has wanted to use. It's one of the warnings we heard from the Joint Chiefs in his administration when he was president before, and it's in Project 2025.
Oh my goodness, Project 20, back to that again. Same old, these Democrats, they have to accept this simple fact. The American people rejected all their BS, all right? Donald Trump won the popular vote, and he won all of the swing states, even flipped a whole bunch of counties in California, all right?
And so it's not just that position, it's also health and its implications for people's daily lives. But the United States of America is based on some transparency and accountability and checks and balances. And if we throw them out of the window, to Bill's point, it's not only that it offends the Constitution, but
there she is, back to the Constitution again.
Will feel that pain, that danger, and that lack of protection in our daily lives.
Oh, in our daily lives with dramatic emphasis. Oh, well. Okay, so this is another clip. This is MSNBC. Chris Hayes talking to this lady here, accusing Pete Hegseth of not just being a white supremacist, but he is a known white supremacist.
Add the Secretary of Defense nominee, Peter Hegseth, the Fox News commentator as well, because this is someone who weekend host. Important distinction.
What does this guy have no penis? This Chris Hayes guy, he's got to emphasize that Pete a weekend host. Like that makes him a lesser person than this guy. Let me tell you, I don't know what the ratings are on Fox and Friends Weekend. Good chance Fox and Friends Weekend has more people watching than this jerk on MSNBC weeknights in prime time.
Add the Secretary of Defense nominee, Peter Hegseth, the Fox News commentator as well, because this is someone who weekend host. Important distinction.
Oh, yes, very important.
This is someone who, is known to be a white supremacist, known to be...
Really? Pete Hegseth is known to be a white... Who knows this? Where did this come from?
known to be a white supremacist, known to be an extremist, whose platform, whose book is basically about his opposition to the advancement of black officers to the top brass.
Okay, now none of that is true. Pete Hegseth believes that the people that get advanced in the military should be people that are qualified, okay? Qualified. Not promoted because they mark off a box. So what has them upset, well, I don't know what upset. I mean, whoever Trump picks for any position, they're going to be upset. And, you look at who he has. You got Donald Trump. I want you to think about this. Donald Trump, Robert Kennedy, Tulsi Gabbard, and then Elon Musk. They're all together last night at the UFC fight. All of them, all four of them, are recovered Democrats. Trump was a Democrat. Elon was a Democrat. Robert Kennedy and Tulsi, Democrats. Bobby Kennedy still is a Democrat, right? They act as if there's some choice Donald Trump could make that they would approve of. But this cross is what they're using to channel their disapproval. They would if Pete Hegseth didn't have a single tat, they'd find something. But the one that offends them the most is not the cross. It's that American flag that he's got on his arm there. That's the one that really pisses them off. But this cross here is the Jerusalem cross. So this is Wikipedia. And I'll go through this a little bit because there's a long history with the Jerusalem cross. And it is just another symbol of Christianity that has a very long history. Okay, and now I'll just go through this on Wikipedia. There's many articles about this. The Jerusalem cross, which is also known as the five-fold cross or cross and crosslets, okay, is a Christian cross variant consisting of a large cross surrounded by four smaller Greek crosses, one in each quadrant, widely popularized during the Crusades in the Holy Land. It was used as the emblem and coat of arms of the Kingdom of Jerusalem in the 1280s. There are variants of the design, either with the four crosslets, also in the form of crosses, with the central cross also in the form of a plain Greek cross, okay? While the symbol of the five-fold cross appears to originate in the 11th century, its association with the Kingdom of Jerusalem dates to the second half of the 13th century. The symbolism of the five-fold cross is variously given as the five wounds of Christ, Christ and the four evangelists, or Christ in the four corners of the world. The symbolism of the five crosses representing the five wounds is the first recorded in context of the consecration of the St. Brilad's Church under Robert of Normandy before 1035. It goes into a lot of detail about the Jerusalem cross. There's a long history in the history of Christianity with this cross. Okay, now its modern usage, look at this. The Jerusalem cross is part of the national flag of Georgia, the former USSR republic, right? Not Georgia the state, the former Soviet outside their own country. That's part of their flag. It's the Eastern Church. In fact, Ian, our travel agent for our cruises that we do every year, he just came back from Israel. He says all over Israel you see this cross, more than the standard crosses we see here in America. A banner with the variation of the Jerusalem cross was used at the proclamation of the revolution of Mount Pelion in May 1821 in the Greek War of Independence. Albert of Wales visited Jerusalem in 1862. He had the cross tattooed on his arm. In the early 20th century, the Jerusalem cross came to be used as a symbol of world evangelist, okay? And it goes, it's very long history with this cross, okay? You guys can look it up and read all about it yourself and find everything there is to know about it. But this cross is a very common cross. It's used all over the world. It's been used for about 1,000 years, and it may be new to these leftists, but don't let them tell you that it is some symbol of white supremacy or it's a swastika. It's none of that stuff, okay? But they're freaked out by him because he doesn't support this woke crap. And they know that the wokeism in the military is over with Pete Hegseth. That it is not only over, it's going to be completely obliterated, and it's not coming back. And that is what has them totally panicked. Okay, all these soldiers and officers and the different branches that are men that are wearing dresses and the drag queens and uniform and all that is over. This destruction of the toughness of the American military, it's all going to be gone with Pete Hegseth. And all of their work is over. All of their work, which was really the destruction of the United States and using all these social justice, very destructive things to weaken our military. It's over. And I was even hearing today already recruitment is starting to go up in the military because a lot of people that are of military enlistment age are inspired and excited about Pete Hegseth coming in as the Secretary of Defense. Now, this is in the Gateway Pundit. Here's another thing that has them very freaked out about Pete Hegseth and Trump coming back. Look at this. This is the Gateway Pundit today. Trump's transition team reportedly drawing up a list of deceitful military officers for court-martial consideration, treason charges potentially on the table. And this, of course, is General Millie Vanilli, Mark Milley, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs in Trump's first term. And this guy colluded with Nancy Pelosi behind the commander-in-chief's back. He illegally took control of our nuclear arsenal, which the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff has no military command whatsoever. They are a military advisor to the president. They're not like the head of the branches of the military, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, okay? So he illegally, without any authority, took command of the nuclear weapon room. Remember that? He had discussions with Nancy Pelosi about removing President Trump from power. And he was in communication with his general counterpart in the CCP in China, all on January 6th. And this guy committed some hardcore treason against the commander-in-chief. And he's probably not the only one. Let me go through this article. Several current and former Pentagon officers, and it would take Pete Hegseth to be behind this and get this done. He has no loyalties to the military-industrial complex, the Washington politicians, no one. He just has an obligation to the president, the American people, and the military. Several current and former Pentagon officials who have made their careers off sending heroic American soldiers off to die in disastrous foreign wars may be about to meet their comeuppance. I've never seen comeuppance written before, have you? I've never seen comeuppance written before, courtesy of the incoming Trump administration. NBC News reported this. The Trump transition team is compiling a list of senior, current, and former U.S. military officers. See, these generals are still active duty, even though they're still generals in the military, even though they're not actually in uniform or anything, and they're like retired. These high-ranking four-star generals are never fully retired. This is NBC. The Trump transition team is compiling a list of senior, current, and former U.S. military officers who were directly involved in the withdrawal from Afghanistan and exploring whether they could be court-martialed for their involvement, according to a U.S. official and a person familiar with the plan. Officials working on the transition are considering creating a commission to investigate the 2021 withdrawal from Afghanistan, including gathering information about who was directly involved in the decision, how it was carried out, and whether military leaders could be eligible for charges as serious as treason, the U.S. official and person with knowledge of the plan said to NBC News. They're taking it very seriously. NBC further reports that Matt Flynn, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, is helping lead the project. It's also likely that the Trump Secretary of Defense nominee, Pete Hegseth, will become involved, assuming the Senate confirms him, and he will be confirmed. Pete Hegseth has blasted the withdrawal on multiple occasions. And it goes on about that. See, this is what has them freaking out. You know, there's going to be justice. This country has been run by, in the last 4 years, the country has been run by con men and sellouts. And, you know, leaving this equipment behind in Afghanistan, the equipment they left behind, a lot of it was very high-tech equipment. You know, just the Apache helicopters, as an example, had the latest computer technology and weapons technology on our helicopters. They left it all behind. And that is a couple of things. One, the military still needs all that equipment. So what happened? The Pentagon had to rebuy all of it again from the military-industrial complex. And a lot of it, like those helicopters with our latest computer tech, was left behind for, that's right, China. China's got a hold of all of this, and they're reverse engineering it and finding out how it works and finding out, we're more advanced than they are, but finding out how they can fight against our weapon systems. They have our computers, our latest weapons technology, and a lot of that equipment that was left behind. Do you think that was an accident? You know, we know what role China has in buying off so many of our politicians and generals. All of those promotions go through the political system in Congress. They're politicians too. So, you know, there's a lot of craziness going on here. And there very well could be a lot of treason that took place over the withdrawal of Afghanistan by leaving all of that equipment behind. And you know what? President Trump, Pete Hegseth, they're very much fully aware of all of that and a whole bunch more. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. And everyone who's already subbed, do me the favor of liking the video if you don't mind. You know, I mean, this whole country has been run by gangsters the last 4 years. The lawfare against President Trump, what happened in Afghanistan, what Milley did on January 6th, and there's got to be justice here. And don't let anybody convince you that it's revenge, because it's not revenge. When people are out there breaking the law, misusing the offices that they hold, bringing them to justice isn't revenge. That's how the legal system works in this country. Now, did you guys catch President Trump at the UFC last night with his great team? Oh, man, America's back. And, of course, CNN, they're having meltdowns. Listen, this is CNN. Now, I had watched last night, my wife and I, we watched just that steady camera on Right Side Broadcasting that was on President Trump and his team all night, right? Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, Robert Kennedy, the Speaker of the House was there. It was just... It was pretty awesome. And, you know, you see that, and you know that America is back. Not just pro-American, competent people in charge, but non-wokesters and real men. But, of course, CNN, they're having freakouts over it.
He's flooded the zone with these picks and forced Republicans to choose. And I think it's interesting to me that he brought Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. to the UFC event last night. He is, frankly, giving, I think, supporter-based permission structure, and he's made these folks stars over the course of this campaign. I mean,
well, Donald Trump did not make Robert Kennedy a star. He's been a star his whole life because of who his dad is.
He is, frankly, giving, I think, supporter-based...
Same thing with Tulsi Gabbard. She's been a big star for a long time.
Permission structure, and he's made these folks stars over the course of this campaign. I mean, in some ways, it's easy to view this, I think, through a different lens. Like, this is also just a person who won following through on campaign promises. He promised retribution, he promised vengeance, and he promised these kind of figures having prominent places in this administration, and he's delivering it. And for a lot of those supporters, that is the point of the Trump vote. And so
Yeah, that's exactly. This guy, he thinks there's something wrong with this. But yeah, this is what we voted for. Yeah, that's right. So we could have adults, Americans, and strong people in charge. You know, he got President Trump, a billionaire 10 times over, sitting next to Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. These people can't be bought. They're like the untouchables. Unlike these other politicians that this country's had all these years that go into politics like Joe Biden to get rich selling out the country.
I don't think that's the fullness of the electorate we saw on Tuesday. I think there, for a lot of people, they backed Trump probably as a rejection of the administration and weren't thinking of this as an endorsement of every single thing he's talked about.
Okay, now see, here's a new talking point that the left are trying to promote, okay? That a lot, yeah, okay, Trump won the popular vote, he won the ballot, but people didn't realize what they were voting for. They didn't realize he meant all these things. Yeah, they knew. They knew exactly why they voted for Trump.
But for the hardcore base, the folks he listens to the most, they voted for Trump for the purposes of RFK Jr.
That's
riling the big pharma, right? And so what they are going to force those Republican senators to do is make a choice on those calls, and they will be doing so with the backing of the electorate. I don't think we can just say that they won't get through. I will believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I mean, and it really looks like ancient Rome.
Oh, it looks like ancient Rome. Here we go.
This is sort of the conquering Republican Caesar who's going into the Colosseum, and everyone's cheering, and he's got his political gladiators with him. That appearance isn't just about him enjoying the applause. He's sending a message to the Senate.
For sure.
Like, not only are you entertained, but these are my people, and are you willing to fight? Because here's who I have.
And are any of us surprised by this? I feel like for anybody who has been covering Trump's campaign or his movement the past few years, these picks, sure, they're raising eyebrows, to say the least, but
a familiar character.
Yes, exactly. They've been with him at all these rallies. They've played a key role in where he's at now.
Yeah.
I know. I'm pretty surprised. You know, Pete Hegseth, who would have even thought that Pete Hegseth would be on the list? And when it came out that he was picking Matt Gaetz, I wasn't expecting Matt Gaetz at all. That one blew my mind, right? Any of you not surprised by Pete Hegseth as defense secretary or Matt Gaetz? How could you not be surprised by that? And so far as this, yeah, this is exactly what we voted for, to have real men, tough guys, pro-Americans in charge. Now, you know, these leftists are at a meltdown because they believe their own crap, and they believe that, you know, President Trump led an insurrection and all this BS. So, you know, in their minds, they're in a complete panic over that because they think he's an insurrectionist. They buy their own propaganda, you know. But we know what the reality is. Now, if you'd like to support my content, my YouTube channel, and of course, radio show and everything else that I bring to you, and podcast with my wife, go to mypillow.com. Use my promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. The Christmas extravaganza has begun. The MyPillow. You can use my promo code Kane, Kane, site-wide. And, of course, free shipping on all orders over $75. These all make great Christmas gifts. The towels, the slippers, the flannel sheets. Look at these are the ones my wife had just ordered with the Christmas trees on them on the right. And, of course, the slippers, they come in many different colors. They come in the moccasins and the slip-ons. And there's so many great things. Look at this. The MyPillow itself, just $14.88 with my promo code Kane. These are great Christmas gifts. The pet beds, the bathrobes. And as I said, you can use my promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout on all the specials at mypillow.com. And free shipping on all orders over $75. And when you use my promo code Kane at checkout, of course, you are supporting all of my content, and that's greatly appreciated. Promo code Kane, Kane, at mypillow.com. All right, guys, I appreciate that. And, of course, always thank you for your support. All right, so getting back to it, I've got so many things to cover here. Things are going so well. I mean, it's just Trump being back for his second and non-consecutive term is just so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. And, It's nothing short of a miracle. I mean, it really is. They've spent almost 10 years filling the entire media with lies and slanders about President Trump and everyone connected to him. And you watch what's hanging in there on the mainstream media, and they're just in a complete denial over what has happened. They just have not accepted that they got creamed, that America has 100% rejected everything they've been selling, right? Not just their woke political philosophy, but all the lies and slanders against President Trump. And this is on Meet the Press today. Jen Psaki stopped by, and listen to this.
Nominations before from presidents of both parties where there have been ethical and substantive issues. Let's not forget, we had a nominee for HHS secretary in this administration who had never dealt with health care before being nominated. So I think the notion that...
I'm not
okay,
here...
now, Jen, of course, this is the HHS secretary in the Biden regime.
He was the attorney general for the state of California. This is a little bit of a different...
He had experience suing healthcare companies, but not anything to do with health care.
Yeah. So and you hear Jen Psaki's in a complete panic because this guy is getting some truth out, and that is something that they just don't want out there, right? You know, they want to act like all of Trump's nominees are not qualified for whatever reason. They're this, they're that. They got this scandal, they got that scandal, all that, you know. And the reality of the situation is that these are incredibly qualified people for a number of reasons, each and every one of them that Trump has picked so far. There's not a single person that he has picked that is not qualified in their own way. And they're trying to act as if, well, they don't have an expertise here, they don't have an expertise there. And what we're finding out is that rarely do cabinet picks have any background or expertise, that they're all political appointees. I mean, look at Mayor Pete. What is Mayor Pete's qualification to be transportation secretary? Could Mayor Pete even check the oil on his car? Does he even drive a car? Right? But he's the secretary of transportation. Right? Now, Zelensky made a big mistake. He did an interview in Ukraine. This is in Ukrainian, but there's subtitles here. And let me play this. And they're talking about Trump. They're talking to Zelensky about Trump forcing him to the negotiating table, the peace talks with Putin.
Перше, сильна Україна. Вона повинна бути сильною для будь-якої дипломатії. Хочу ще раз це підкреслити.
Але США не лише
Okay, but now here it is. But the USA is not only by a potential mediator in the negotiation.
Ційний посередник в переговорах. Це країна, яка
This is a country, the United States, that provides huge amounts of assistance to
дає
Ukraine,
величезні обсяги допомоги Україні, і яка може
which can encourage us to sit down at the negotiating table. This is what this lady is saying to Zelensky.
Може спонукати нас до того, щоб ми сіли за стіл переговорів. Який меседж ви отримали від
What message did you get from Donald Trump during these contacts?
Дональда Трампа під час тих контактів, які у вас з ним були? Тобто він, як він каже? Він каже, я стану президентом.
What is Zelensky writing down?
І сідайте за стіл переговорів. Як це виглядає?
Я думаю, що він так не каже.
Look at that. He's laughing at President Trump. He says, no, I think he does not say that.
Ми незалежно.
We're an independent Ukraine. Okay, so he's laughing at President Trump and saying, well, we're an independent Ukraine. He can't do that. Are they really independent? You know, we're funding the whole country. We're not just funding their war. We're also funding their... If they get a pothole, the United States pays to fix the pothole. We're paying their version of Social Security. We're paying for their health care. And here is Zelensky laughing at President Trump. Now, this was all over X yesterday. I promise you, President Trump has seen that. This guy is gone out of his mind. Now, first of all, you would think that anyone who's the president of a small country who has been attacked and invaded by a much larger country and a very strong country, Russia, that they would want to have peace talks to try to stop the war. You never hear him talking about ending the war, do you? Because Zelensky doesn't want to end the war. You know, he's passed his term as president. He's president without being elected at this point. He's declared martial law. He says they won't have an election until the war is over. So so he doesn't want the war to be over, and he knows that the war is over, the money stops coming in. Well, the money's going to stop. The money is going to stop. The American people don't support this. So he better get used to the idea. And him sitting there laughing at President Trump, that was one of the dumbest moves I've seen any world leader do, especially one that is just sucking off of the U.S. Treasury. He is, Zelensky, one of the most entitled people I've ever seen. I have never seen someone so entitled as that. Now here we have, let me pull this up, Joy Reid. So believe me, he won't be laughing when the boss is back. Here's Joy Reid, post-election. She looks completely insane, by the way. I mean, she just cannot get over the defeat. Fascism. He just won the popular vote in every battleground state. She acts as if he launched some coup and took over.
Are betters. The idea that any random white guy or right-thinking woman with zero background is inherently superior to any black person or woman, no matter how many degrees or qualifications they have, is a conceit of fascism and ethno-nationalism. That
What is she talking? Ethno-nationalism?
No, we cannot come together around. We cannot come together around mass deporting millions of immigrants and potentially separating families or throwing them.
Well, you know, Homan said this. You don't have to separate families. You could deport the entire family. These are not immigrants. These are invaders. They are in this country illegally. They have invaded our country and our country is being colonized.
Them into internment camps. We can't come together around kicking women or gay, bi, or trans people out of the military just because Macho Man weekend TV guys said so.
Weekend TV guy? This guy has 2 bronze stars.
We cannot come together around Elon Musk, who runs an app infused with racism and misogyny, and who gained that.
Oh, really? Now all of a sudden, Twitter, X, is filled with racism. She was on Twitter. She was on X until like yesterday when she canceled her account. Now all of a sudden, it's a place of racism.
App.
See, you know, the reason I share all this, it really shows us how lucky we are that President Trump ran, because you're getting a peek into what this country would have been like if Kamala would have won.
To sway an election, and now essentially co-owns a president alongside Vladimir Putin.
Oh, back to the Russia.
Joe Biden is perfectly free to come together with Trump and the people who literally 3 days ago were calling him every name in the book, because he's the president and therefore immune from prosecution by our soon-to-be autocrat under John Roberts' rules for American kings. So he has the privilege of coming together with the guy who quoted Hitler on his way back to the White House.
When did President Trump quote Hitler? You know, these fantasies that these Democrats have, it's, you know, when you're those stages of grief, they're still in that denial phase, okay? They haven't accepted that not only did Trump win, but that their entire belief system has been rejected. That's one of the reasons the ratings have cratered as much as 70% on MSNBC. People have rejected everything that they have been promoting. Now, this woman here, she's a newly elected Democrat from California to the House of Representatives. Listen to this nonsense. Her mentor, really? Did she tell her how to have sex with married men and get state appointments making $90,000 a year given to you by men that are married that you're having sex with? Did she mentor her on that? Wow. The president, Kamala was the president that, well, let her go back to let her be the governor of California then. The president this country deserved, Willie Brown's girlfriend. You know, and she's sitting next to this woman here on the left. This was one of the high-profile staffers of Kamala's that couldn't stand working with her and quit working at the White House in the beginning of the administration because Kamala Harris is such an out-of-control terror to work for.
And we are past, I believe, as the elected class now. We're not weeping anymore. We're not weak. We're ready to go.
The elected class.
I actually understand what is in front of us. I come from a beautiful neighborhood in the Bay Area called the Fillmore.
Oh yeah, that's just what we want. We want to get advice from people from the Bay Area.
Fillmore during World War II, this government lined up Japanese Americans, their children, their grandparents, and they took them into concentration camps.
Well, what they see now, this is the beginning of this new narrative. First off, what she's talking about, the Democrats rounded up Americans of Japanese descent, okay? Democrats, racist Democrats, Franklin Roosevelt. But this is the beginning of the narrative that deporting all the illegals is, you know, the difference between the illegals and the Americans of Japanese descent that the Democrats put in internment camps. Those were Americans of Japanese descent. They were Americans that were being rounded up by Democrats and put in internment camps. The people that President Trump is going to deport are not Americans. They may be South Americans, they may be Central Americans, but they're not Americans. And they don't have a right to be here. Big difference.
We know what's ahead of us. Last night in orientation, members of both the Republican and Democratic newly elected members of Congress, we toured the bottom floor of the African American Museum. My colleagues on both sides of the aisle, they were able to see front and center what it looked like to have human beings in bondage, human beings in shackles. We know what is in front of us. The people of the 12th District came out to vote to send me here to protect the rights of our folks by any means necessary. That's what
By any means necessary. I don't know what that means. Is she talking about an insurrection? Neon, $5 super sticker. Thank you so much. You know, the deportation, listen, there's right now from Trump's first wave of appointments, there's three major things that are going to go on, right? Attorney General Matt Gaetz bringing to justice all these lawfare criminals, and there's a lot of them, okay? Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Not only does he have to get the military back on track, but he's going to have to purge from it all these wokesters that not just are the generals, but other officer ranks, but also enlisted personnel in all the branches have to be purged from the military. Ann Homan, the border czar, with Christy Noem as the Secretary of Homeland Security, are going to be behind this mass deportation. Now, all these things are very popular for us, for MAGA, and for those that voted for President Trump. But they're not popular with the Democrats and the media. And the reason the point of everything I'm sharing with you today, this is not going to be easy, okay? Right now, you know, things seem like they're going to be easy. It's going to happen. Trump will get it done. He's putting people in these positions, whether it's Christy Noem, Homan, Pete Hegseth, Matt Gaetz, who are outside of the box people to appoint to these jobs because they're not beholden to all these media people or Washington people. They're going to do what's right. But there's going to be more resistance to these things, I think, than most anybody realizes. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, as an example. One of the things he's going to do early on is give an order that you have to wear the uniform of the gender of which you were born. No more cross-dressing in the military. Do you think these guys are going to stop doing that? Of course, there's going to be a lot of resistance to that. They're not going to obey the order. So what are they going to do? Are they going to arrest them? Are they going to charge them? Are they going to court-martial them? Yeah, probably. But the media meltdowns over that. Everything Matt Gaetz is going to... The deportations are going to be one of the more visible ones because that's going to be going on all over the country. And you see what they're talking about. They're talking about slavery. They're talking about the internment camps with the Americans of Japanese descent. Those were not Japanese internment camps. Those were internment camps of Americans. The Democrats put Americans in internment camps. Okay? So you're going to see all the imagery. You're going to see MSNBC and CNN. You're going to see endless film footage of the trains to Auschwitz. You know, the Germans in the Holocaust, they were deporting people from their own countries. That's not what we're doing. We're deporting people from a country that they're in illegally to their home country. It's the complete opposite of that. And they're not going to go to any camps when they get there. They're just going to be sent back to their country, and they're going to be let loose. But you can see the media, they're already gearing up for a mass resistance to this. So you got to get ready, because it's going to happen, and it's going to be rough. It seems like a very popular thing because it is. President Trump just won, but that doesn't mean that they're going to make it easier for him, or easy at all. And I was very glad last night at the UFC that Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, was with President Trump. You know, Mike Johnson's been with Trump since election night, and you could tell he was glowing from ear to ear. He's very excited. He's very MAGA, Mike Johnson. He's with Trump, you know, and he's going to stand strong with him. And all of these nominees, whether they go through the confirmation process or their recess appointments, they're going to hold the offices. Trump said today that he's going all in on all of his picks, and was very specific about his support for Matt Gaetz. All right? So Trump is standing with all of these people that he's nominated. He's not going to let any of them not hold the offices that he's nominated them for, and every one of them is the perfect person for the job, especially Homan, Pete Hegseth, and Matt Gaetz. You know, these are the only the people he's picking. These are the only people that would do what's right. Anybody else they pick, you know, the regular types of people that get picked for these kind of jobs, all they're worried about is their next job or the donors. These people are going to do what's right. But I got to tell you, it's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of dark days coming up. I mean, just on day one, when he starts with the orders, I mean, the first order probably that Trump signs will be to close the southern border, would be my guess. But early on, he's going to start signing the pardons. There's going to be meltdowns like no one's business. But this is what what you've got to understand, and what everybody's got to understand. The American people, in a popular vote, did not just elect President Trump to be the president of the United States, but also sent a Republican majority to both houses of Congress. So MAGA controls the White House, the United States Senate, the United States House of Representatives, and the United States Supreme Court. We control everything. And unlike the first term, when we had Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell stopping Trump at every opportunity, and we also did not have the Supreme Court like we have now, we've got it all, and the right things are going to be done. The Senate, the House, and the Supreme Court will stand up to President Trump because he's doing what is right and what is legal. And I know I'll be standing with him, and you guys will too, right? Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Subscribe if you're new, and everyone who's already subscribed, do me the favor of liking the video, and if you could take the stream and share it, that would help too, all right? My name's Brian Craig. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time.